Today I'm talking with a technology professional who works with organizations around HCM technology, payroll, time, HR, and workforce operations. We'll explore today what companies need to understand technically and strategically as they modernize. On the call with me today is David Gilbert. Dave, if you want to say hello and kind of introduce yourself as well as talk a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I'm a principal solutions consultant here at RJ Reliance, and I'm sitting mostly on the project delivery side for the integrations team. We use a product here called Boomi, which is a cloud-based PaaS, which is an integration platform as a service. And I've been working with that tool for quite a few years. So I'm on the delivery side, and I help out all of our developers that we have here. And I also get involved early on with a lot of the client projects and the integrations and kickoffs and doing discoveries and making sure the architecture and design is good to go and something we can deliver on. And that's I've been here about a year or so. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, no small feat. Obviously, leveraging a lot of your industry knowledge and experience to help drive these projects to fruition. As you look at the projects that you've currently been working on, if you could summarize what you're seeing essentially from a technology decision standpoint, like what do you see, what is most important on these projects, these HCM projects that you're working on, or what kind of problems are you solving for?
Well, we do a lot of integrations in conjunction with implementations, especially on the UKG and ADP side. So what we're seeing with a lot of these clients is they really they're going through a big lift already with their internal processes, switching from one system to another. And there's just a lot of aspects sometimes of what they do as a company that may not fit well into the solution that they've picked. And that's kind of where we come in. And on the integration side specifically, they don't want to lose the fact that maybe they've already got an integration from their old HCM, and then now they're switching to a new one, and they want to rebuild that, rebrand it. And basically, the goal is with the integrations is to reduce complexity, is to reduce data entry. If you're switching UKG, for example, you're onboarding a new employee, and you've got your ERP or your other online systems that require employee information. You want that information there on a timely basis, and you don't want to re-enter that employee information. It doesn't make any sense. So integrations is definitely part of that to make that new system that you're going to feel more like one system with all the other systems that you work with. And that's the part that really gets me excited, is to see a client's eyes light up when employee information is synced across the systems and they don't have to re-enter it, and it's all accurate. And sometimes we do bi-directional ones where the operational system makes changes and we got to send it back. And we do a lot of stuff along the other parts of that too, GL data, timesheets, all the payroll information. We integrate that as well. So maybe you're running payroll with an existing system. You don't want to do that with your new system, but you need some of that payroll data. Let's say the GL transactions, that payroll generated from payroll. You need that information to another system. That's another type of integration that we do. And we've been seeing a lot more trends as far as customers with construction companies in particular, which is a soft spot for me, because as you know, that's where I came from. Did that for 6 years or so before coming here. And construction is an industry that's one of the last ones to pick up new trends. And believe it or not, there's still quite a few construction companies that are still on premise, that are still looking at the cloud or moving things slowly to the cloud. So we've had many implementations where we're implementing it, the UKG, ADP, whatever, we're implementing the HCM system in the cloud, but their on-premise system, their ERP, their big operational systems, they're still on-prem. So we need to be able to handle integrations between the cloud and on-prem. And that's something else we've seen a lot more of. And a lot of these construction companies, especially ones that are based in California, ones that have heavy union bases, lots of variety in their field, especially with something like Vista, for example, which is a pretty popular construction ERP. You can really customize that system. You can add a lot of user-defined fields. You can create custom workflows. And the clients don't want to break all of that and lose that investment that they've made in that system over those years just because they're switching out their HR system. So that's something we've done a lot of, is UKG to Vista implementations, and it saves them from having to take that part of their business that they've invested in. They can just have us write these integrations between those two systems and preserve those user-defined fields and the way they're operating for the day-to-day stuff, and take advantage of the reason they picked UKG or ADP was because they wanted the more modern cloud-based system that's got more features and so on. And we kind of fill those gaps between making sure that data gets synced and they're still able to operate.
So let me ask you, you touched on something really interesting, is that there's obviously this trend that you're seeing, that we're seeing, where the construction companies are adopting more modern applications. And it's kind of funny to be saying modern in 2026, where, like you said, there's clients that have tools, even ERP tools like Sage 300 CRE, that's literally sitting on a desktop or server within their own environment versus being cloud-based. But tell me a little bit about why do you have any sense of what the appeal is? Why are they just now moving into adopting these more modern HCM systems today? Is it kind of the domino effect that you have you have predominant ones that kind of started going that route, and now everybody's kind of following that direction?
I think, especially for construction, I think the bigger the company, the quicker they have been to adopt cloud technology, which it's like completely inverse of what you would think. The smaller companies would be more nimble, right? But in construction, especially when you compare general contractors to subcontractors, general contractors always have a full IT department, even if they're smaller ones. And they've got a CTO or VP IT, they've got a server manager, they've got an applications person, they've got an actual team in IT that can watch the industry, they can see what other general contractors are doing, see the benefits and the cost savings of moving to the cloud. So they tend to move sooner. What smaller ones, even the larger subcontractors, they don't, their IT focus, which has been construction for the longest time, is IT is there to keep the lights on. They just reset the passwords, they keep the servers running. There's no reason for us to do some $1 million lift and shift up to the cloud when everything's working great now. And I think over time, with that lag that construction has to so many other industries, especially ones that are a lot more nimble, went to the cloud way before construction did. And now they're catching up to it. And I think they're seeing competitors, they're seeing other businesses that are kind of related to them. For instance, in construction, there's still a fair amount of EDI. Obviously EDI is like perfectly made for the cloud because it's just another format basically for integration. So these EDI companies move to portals that they build up in the cloud, and they're like, well, our EDI partner already made us basically change our EDI integrations from on-prem to the cloud. And it's like, well, they must see some benefit to that. So let's look into it, and it's a lot more consulting firms to construction, which is what my last company used, that basically come in and help construction firms look at the landscape and figure out what they want to do. A lot more of them are leading and embracing the cloud and telling these customers that there is a real benefit here. With the company I was looking at, I mean, it was multi-millions of dollars that we were going to have to spend for on-premise hardware versus what we were going to save over the first couple of years in the cloud. So it's kind of a no-brainer. And it was a 5-year process to move everything from on-prem to the cloud. So it wasn't something that was that quick, but it gave us time to evaluate, because we were doing replacements as well. So we could have lifted and shifted our ERP to the cloud or gone with the cloud version, but they decided we're going to take some more time, and we're actually going to do an ERP selection process, which they did. They found a cloud-based HR. They actually did that. They took some more time to do it than a lot of other companies that are more nimble would probably like, oh, we can do this in a year. It's like, no, construction's a little bit more. And construction deals with an awful lot of people in the field, obviously. So your office staff is very small. You've got a lot of people in the field. So you've got to deal with bring your own devices. You got to deal with a lot more password resets. Data entry on mobile phones is, as you know, a completely different world than being able to do it on a desktop. And a lot of these cloud-based apps that are construction applications also took their time, which has been another problem. So I mean, Vista, for example, does have a cloud version. Coins is another one that does have a cloud version. But some of the bigger boys took a lot longer to migrate their stuff to the cloud. So the construction companies were like, well, they're not in the cloud yet, so why should we even consider moving to them? And then as they've been getting more and more construction software in the cloud, they've been obviously improving, making it more accessible, cost savings, integration and capabilities, a lot more appealing to the construction companies to move to them.
Yeah. There for sure, in terms of the history and why companies are really looking at that migration process. Obviously, the other thing that's kind of come about is more compliance. You have the Davis-Bacon Act, and I know you do a lot of work in terms of certified payroll and prevailing wage. Can you comment on that a little bit? Like first of all, from a complexity standpoint, what do you see that companies, your clients are having to navigate around because of those particular rules that are being put in place?
Yeah, I think what the complexity has done with these rules is it's given more advantage to the cloud-based HCMs and workforce management systems because they are cloud-based. They're able to implement these rules faster than the on-premise software, and it just makes them more appealing. It's like, yeah, that rule just came out a couple months later, rolled it out in a new version, good to go. Where that's much more appealing than your on-prem version, which may take a lot longer to implement. So that's one thing that I've definitely seen. And the other thing I just wanted to mention too, from a security standpoint, because this was an impact when we did a move, is all these cloud vendors are all based on 3 or 4 very large cloud providers.
Yeah.
Google's, Amazon Web Services of the year. The risk to your data loss is significantly lower in the cloud. So not only is it benefit to comply with the law, it's just a benefit to that PII, that payroll data, that really important data that you've got now sitting in a cloud-based platform running on a very secure cloud. I mean, Microsoft, for example, has got thousands of employees that just that's all they do is security. It's firewalls and virus protection and all that stuff that would just be you'd have to hire people to really take advantage of. And so it's a combination of the cloud vendors moving to the cloud, improving their software, being more compliant, but it's also the fact that these cloud providers they have armies of people to do all this stuff that you don't have to do anymore because they take care of it and you're much more safe with your data.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So moving to the kind of the audience here, very much interested in trends in AI, right? So what are you seeing in terms of the role that you have within the organization, obviously doing a lot of integration and development? What role do you see AI in your kind of day-to-day job, or how is that shaping your day-to-day job, both now and what you see in the near term?
Well, the last 4 years, Rob, as you know, for AI have been just
it just
amazing.
Started really nascent to like
a revolution.
Yeah.
ChatGPT came out in November of 2022, and I remember the first time I used it, I was like, I knew right away this is going to be transformative.
Yeah.
And I still think that there's lots of room for companies to find how they can take advantage of it and really get the ROI in it. For me in my job, it has definitely helped, especially on the technical side, because obviously most of these tools have been built by very technical companies.
Mm-hmm.
It's really replaced, for me, it's replaced internet searching. I just don't bother going to a Google or Bing homepage anymore and searching. I think it will eventually replace internet searching completely. You'd just be using an AI for that. Like you mentioned, a lot of the public sites now are doing that. They're making things more AI friendly, because that's where the consumption has been. But the biggest thing for me that it was added, especially in the last couple of years, is the context keeping. So you can go in, you can have a conversation with Copilot, for example, or Claude or whatever, and have 3 or 4 or 10 different conversations going inside that tool all about different topics. And it remembers everything that you've been talking about in that. Right. You just don't get that with internet searches. And especially in some of the technical stuff that we do, where I'm trying to solve a specific problem that may not have been actually popped up in a product before, and I can go in there and basically pick up where I left off with that tool. Where I've tried a couple things and it hasn't worked, and now I'm able to go in there and say, okay, I'm ready to try the next couple of things, and the AI remembers that entire conversation history and focuses more and more on solving the problem. But there's obviously, you've seen there's an awful lot of AI startups out there. I don't know if there's going to be an AI bubble. There may still be one in the future where things kind of collapse down a little bit. But I probably, the 3 or 4 people that I know that are heavy in tech and the AI stuff are either working for startups or they're using AI within their company. And I've seen AI sit on top of data warehouses for assisting out on the business intelligence side, and it's amazing. You can throw a structured database or an even unstructured one at an AI and let it crawl it, and the things it comes back with is pretty amazing. The things that it can deduce. Yeah, so I'm kind of excited for a lot of things that we haven't really seen yet. A lot of data sets that are out there that we can point AI to and solve problems. Obviously, the medical industry is doing great with that, with the things that they're super excited about. some of these things that they might solve that we never were able to, you know. But yeah, as far as my job, it's definitely made things easier. I can turn things around quicker, which is great. Obviously, there's still the risk of it getting things wrong, so I'm verifying everything before I would ever think about putting it into production code. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where we go. And looking back the last 4 years, it's been amazing what these companies are coming up with, and what you can do. You can replace entire development. You don't have to hire a couple of developers to build a website anymore. It's just amazing.
It is amazing for sure. Well, listen, we'll go ahead and end it here. I really appreciate the conversation for it. Again, as the pace of change continues to grow, looking forward to having some more of these conversations with you in the near future to see again kind of what you're seeing and kind of what you're following.